Hello, family. Welcome back. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Salathia. Here we talk about faith based content on marriages, raising families, how to keep a godly centered home. And today we're going to be diving into a topic that a lot of people struggle with, and this is balancing parenthood and marriage at the same time. We know that, being a parent can be very demanding. And so can a spouse. Like being a spouse can be very demanding as well because we have to spend time with them too. So, how do we balance, being a parent and being a wife? Well, I do want to share some tips on how to juggle, these two things. Before we get into that, though, I need to share my journey because I came from it, okay? And a lot of us want to talk about something that we've never even been through. For me, I used to put my kids first in everything, and it just doesn't work. Me and my husband, our intimacy levels started to really, really lower because I was putting the kids first, and I'm still trying to get out of it now. But that balance, you have to have that balance in order to sustain being a parent and a marriage. Sometimes you got to put your kids second, and it's tough because us with mom guilt. If you struggle with mom guilt, I made a past video about that as well. So feel free to watch that. I will link it right here. But yeah, so like we struggle with mom guilt, and we struggle with that because we feel like we need to be there for our kids 24/7, or we need to cater to their needs 24/7. And that's just not how it's supposed to be, because then we end up getting burnt out. We end up losing ourselves and stuff like that. But you can watch all that in the other video. With our spouses, like our spouses actually come first. Okay, it's God first. I'm sorry, God first, then our husband second, then our children. A lot of people don't agree with that, and it's really important. It is so imperative. In order to take care of your children, your marriage has to be taken care of first. If you and your spouse are fighting, if you're arguing, if you're going through a lot of stress, you're not going to be able to take care of your kids that well. When I am my best self, when I'm being loved and taken care of by my husband, I am like, let's do this. Like, I'm ready to take care of my kids because I'm in a right mental headspace. And if you're not in a right mental headspace for your children, they're going to feel it. You might yell at them. You might get irritated with them. Like, it's going to be a lot. So that's what I was dealing with. And I had to come to the realization that I have to put me and my husband, we need our time. We need to schedule intentional, intentional time to spend together. That way we can come back and be, who we need to be for our kids. That's how God designed it to be. So I had to really seek God and seek his wisdom and understanding in order to get this right, because I couldn't do it by myself. So I had to get in the word. And when I started to really dive deep into the word and understand how what am I trying to say? How a family dynamic is supposed to be in the house, it makes things so much smoother. And it's like God's peace is within your household when it's like that, because that's how he designed it. And if he designed it that way, he's going to give you peace about it. So our schedules started to become full of demands. Like, we had sleepless nights. We had to constantly care for the little one. And somehow we thought that we could do all this and still stay emotionally connected. No, honey. And honestly, for a while, we just were not prioritizing each other. We were focusing on, striving as parents and not focusing on nurturing our relationship. So there is a scripture I came across when I was reading the word, and I want to share that with you guys because it's important. So hold on one second. So in the Bible, Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 9 through 12, it says, "Two are better than one, because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up." That verse hit me because I realized that if we were going to strive as parents, we needed to support each other and build our marriage up, not just the family, if that makes sense. The foundation of the household is the marriage. And you guys have to think about it like this. God created marriages. If two come together, that is the foundation of that household, okay? But you have to make sure you're keeping God in the middle. That's the number one thing. You have to make sure you're keeping God in the middle. That means reading together, praying separately, just making sure that you're doing God's will, asking Him for wisdom, understanding, praying to Him, getting your alone time with Him. And then the two have to come together, emotionally connect, make sure you're supporting each other. Because if you're not, you're going to be tired, irritated, you're going to be emotionally drained because the two of you are not helping each other, you're not supporting each other. Okay? Go out on dates. Make sure you're sitting down with each other, talking about everything that you need to hash away, or things that you guys may be holding in. Have your regular conversations, do some game nights, and I'll do a video on some date night ideas as well. But make sure you're keeping that spice, keep that support and keep that strong love and commitment to your spouse before your kids. Okay. Because that's very important so that you can be able to come together for your kids. I hope I'm explaining this right. So I want to share some key principles and tips that helped us to restore our balance and peace in the house while navigating parenthood as well. So what we started to do is communicate open and honestly with God at the center. Okay. Having God in the center of your marriage and your family is the most important thing you can do. James chapter 1, verse 5 tells us, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him. So when we started to ask God and pray to God and on how to communicate better and ask him for wisdom, everything shifted. And it wasn't overnight, but everything started to fall into place. We began to understand each other's needs more deeply, because that was a challenge. We just wanted to seek God's peace in our hearts, you know what I'm saying? And listening with love and open ears. Another thing is scheduling date nights. We couldn't, do the spontaneous thing because we got kids. So we have to literally schedule ahead, hey, this Saturday, let's go down to Andiamo's. We had to schedule and get, our families, get babysitters to watch our children so that we can do date nights. It is worth it. Get a babysitter. Get your family to watch your children. Also, don't be that person that you don't want to ask for help for nobody to watch your kids. I had to learn that lesson too. I know that life gets busy, schedules get swamped, but you have to make sure that you're spending time with your spouse. It is vital. So with this, we started to make scheduling date nights essential. We started to make it a priority, but we fell off again. I'm just being honest. It is something that helped us, but we did fall out of it again. So we have to get that back up. And that's another thing, give yourself grace. If you don't have to stick to a schedule so much to where you get anxiety, around it, because that's what happened to me. Ask God to guide you. Ask God to guide your marriage and to guide each of you on how to connect with each other. So another thing we started to do is share responsibilities. The Bible tells us in Galatians chapter 6, verse 2, carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. It's so easy to fall into a pattern of, I'll do this, you do that. In our marriage, we had to move from a place of, this is my responsibility, to, hey, how can I support you? And we've had multiple conversations about that. When we truly started to understand that we had to support each other, rather than pointing fingers and saying, hey, you didn't do this, or, whatever, keeping track of who did what, it became less about managing tasks and more of, how can I support you in this? Or if he's tired of something, or if he's gone, if he's, doing something, I'm going to take the load off, and vice versa. And that's how you support each other so that you can take care of your kids. Because if you have certain responsibilities and you make that person stick to those responsibilities, it can wear them down, and then they can't be the best parent that they can be. So this is how you're balancing marriage and parenthood at the same time, because you're taking care of your responsibilities while also supporting each other so that you can support your children as well. Another way that we started to really balance everything out is having a routine for the whole family. Okay. So I'm not going to go over my whole routine, but for instance, at night at 6 o'clock, the kids do their chores. At 6:30, I have them getting in the bath and reading time. So then at 7 o'clock, they go to bed. There is their bed. It's like between 7 and 7:30 is their bedtime. All of that time is spent with them. But then when we get into 7:30, that is me and my husband's time. Okay. No, non-negotiable. It's non-negotiable. Do not come downstairs unless you have to use the bathroom, unless it's an emergency. But this is now me and my husband's time. And this can happen even in the middle of the day. So like if they're out of school, you know how they be having all them breaks and, days out of school. We'll have in the middle of the day somewhere, we'll be like, okay, we need some time to ourselves. I need you to go in there for 30 minutes to an hour, and we'll give them something to do. And then we can have our time to refuel ourselves. So pro tip, nothing has to be perfect. Okay. Make a plan, schedule things, come up with your routines. I do routine, night routine, morning routines and stuff like that. I usually do that on Instagram and TikTok. But I am going to start posting those things on YouTube as well. Routines is very important. Okay. And it really helps you to plan your day and prioritize what you need to do. Also helps the kids to know what's going to come next. For instance, like my kids, they thrive off of routine, and they always say, hey mom, it's 6 o'clock. It's time to clean up. Hey, okay. Like I don't have to say anything. Like, if they know the routine, they're more apt to, stick to those routines and stick to their responsibilities. But yeah, like I said, I got off track, but nothing has to be perfect, because God gives us grace. Things are going to get chaotic. You're going to have days where things are not going to go right. You're going to have days where you are mentally tired. Like you can't control every aspect, every second of your day. So, but God gives you grace. It's okay. It's okay if you mess up. It's okay if you forgot to do something. It's okay if you didn't get time to spend with your spouse for a day, but don't make that a habitual thing throughout. That's just your lifestyle. Okay. In 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9, it says, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Instead of feeling discouraged, I've really learned to just lean on God's grace and trust that He covers us. And He does not expect us to be perfect. In fact, we can't be perfect. We're humans. So, if we mess up in an area, it's okay. It's okay. We just have to keep seeking God and, just keep supporting each other. So there you have it. Those are the tips and the things that we did to just kind of get balance in the household between parenting and marriage. And it's not easy at all, but with God's wisdom, grace, love, and peace, we can find balance and joy like none other. Thank you so much for watching. That is the end of this. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. Also, leave a comment below on how you started to balance out your marriage and parenthood, or anything that God has told you as well. Drop a comment down below. And also remember, wherever you are in this journey, God will meet you there, and He will guide you every step of the way. I'll see you guys next time.